Aloha, and welcome back to Live at the Legislature. I'm Ka'eo Kealoha Lindsay with the House Minority. Our guest today is Representative Gene Ward, who serves as the House Minority Floor Leader and represents Hawaii Kai in District 17. Good morning, Rep. Ward.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here today.
So we'll be splitting this segment into two. One will kind of highlight your role as part of the loyal opposition, and the second will highlight more of the projects that your office is working on this session. So to begin, we had a couple of more controversial issues come up on the floor last week. We're at that point in session. So one of those was HB 1994, which, if passed, would make Hawaii effectively a sanctuary state. So, Rep. Ward, what was your reaction to that, and what is your stance on that issue?
First, let me start with some good news. As is usual on an election year, we don't say grab for your wallet, and this year it's an election year, so people don't have to worry about tax increases, even though those who are doing Airbnb may be alerted that there's probably some legislation that's coming out for that one. But I've also found out from dual tax there are 57,000 TAT filers. Having said that, people don't have to worry probably about a tax increase. Now, sanctuary cities, something about immigration I'm very familiar with. I went through the immigration process with my wife, who is from Malaysia, with my daughter, who is adopted from China, which you want to talk about going through legal immigration. I think I've gone through the ultimate of it. The difficulty with this sanctuary state is that it's the wrong issue at the wrong time. Immigration is a national issue. It's not one of the local issues that is something that should be front and center in the legislature. It's something that I think is going to hurt us. Case in point, 25% of our budget and growing is federal money. If we want to stick our fingers in the eyes of the president and his administration, I mean, go at it. But I don't think that's smart. And as my colleague Cynthia Thielen mentioned as we debated this on the floor last week, this draws attention to if and when there is an illegal, this issue is going to focus on them, and it's going to alert people to, hey, watch out for these people. So it's better that we don't have such a political statement, we don't have such a loss of potential revenue, and that we set aside this stuff that's going on at the national level, and we, as Hawaii, should be Hawaii.
The next bill that came up, or another one that came up, was HB 1851, which would define in loco parentis for purposes of exemption under Hawaii's obscenity laws and clarify the offense of promoting pornography for minors, and that it does not apply to a person who acts within the person's capacity and scope as a member of staff at any school. So I guess in layman terms, what does that bill do, and what were your concerns with that?
In the street language, this is, if you're a teacher, you're exempt from pornography. Now, if anybody is listening to this, you say, well, how can you juxtapose teachers and pornography together? The bill doesn't define that, but I think it's a stigmatization of teachers and pornography, of which we've had some instances in different parts of the mainland. But I think it's a bill that is done in bad taste, and the DOE is against it. They want to protect their teachers. Some of the police departments say, well, it's necessary. Well, how many teachers are carrying around pornography? And is a science class on genitalia pornography, really? So I think that's a bill that people should be aware of, and particularly mothers, mother bears. This is something that should be alerted to them, and they should try to kill it, quite frankly.
Okay. So now we'll transition into what your office is doing. So we've got two bills going through the legislature. It's HB 1598 and 2706, and what that would do is create an international moon-based alliance to promote the space industry, and we'd hopefully have some experimentation on the Big Island. So what was your idea behind it, and why is this so important for Hawaii's future?
You know, for the last probably 30 or 40 years, we've tried to diversify our economy. Here we have a very strategic advantage on the Big Island. A moon-based alliance is essentially saying anybody who wants to go to the moon, because we're going to go to the moon. In fact, yesterday the president said we're going to privatize NASA even. If we're going to go to the moon, we got to have training on the moon for self-sufficiency and sustainability. Mauna Kea is the closest thing you can get to be on the moon. The basalt and all of the environment, except for the oxygen, is exactly the moon environment. So a moon-based alliance is saying all those nations within the Pacific and Asia and the Europeans, because they're trying to do the same thing, should align together and have a moon base to where we do the training on Mauna Loa. I believe it's Mauna Loa. Hank Rogers knows more detail about that. That there be a training and an alliance that says when we go to the moon, it's got to be for base supplies and integration for those who want to go off to Mars and to other places in the universe. So it's an exciting thing. It's a chance for good jobs. It's a chance to bring NASA money in, private sector money. And quite frankly, there's a tourism component where if we have a module here for training astronauts, we can have a module over here for visitors to simulate what it's like to be an astronaut, particularly for young people who want to see the vision of what it's like to live inside of the moon base.
Right.
So it's exciting. It's a different way of looking at the future.
Definitely. And we just had the Chair of Public Safety mention more about the missile alert fiasco, of which you've been very outspoken on. So do you have any more comments?
Well, I'm still waiting
that?
for the governor to write back to the 4 letters that I've written to him for a response. And I'm still trying to get the tapes there's no tapes on the inside evidently, but there's tapes from the parking lot. I want to see who came, who went in and out the doors, and what are the things that we should expect. If you look at yesterday and today's Star Advertiser, there's still too many inconsistencies. It's confusing, particularly when now you have the button pusher having probably one of the best criminal lawyers in the state of Hawaii suing the state for defamation of the character of the button pusher. It's not clear, it doesn't pass the smell test, and I think we have to get to the bottom of it. If the HARA report, which was earlier mentioned, is coming at the end of the month, if that doesn't answer the questions, I think it behooves us in the House and the Senate to have our own investigation, to really say what really happened. Not all of this, well, we did this and then we changed the story to that. I think the people really deserve to know what's going on and how this will never, ever happen again.
And what other projects are you working on this session?
Interesting you would mention that because it's been a year in the making. It's called Broken Promises, the Land and Powerlessness in Hawaii, DHHL. It's a study of basically all the things that have happened over the last 100 years where they still have 27,000 people on the wait list and there's only 9,700 homesteaders. Representative DeCoite and I are going to release this paper shortly to really see what can be done and why it hasn't been done to this date. Native Hawaiians deserve better. They've been too patient for too long. And this is to sort of, not an expose, but a reasoning with our colleagues and the governor to say, look, 100 years ago, we promised to do this. We haven't done it. It's a broken promise.
All right, Representative Ward, thank you for your time and thank you for joining us. Thank you to all who joined us today, and we'll see you next week.